And the way to think of it, having begun with Antonio Gramsci, is through the strange idea, which seems like a different ideological framework, of professional capital, the idea of capital. What do we mean by capital? And when we think in economics, whether we are Karl Marx or Adam Smith or Warren Buffett in America, capital simply means adding value to net worth. There are many ways since Adam Smith and Karl Marx we've come to think about capital as a metaphor. We think about human capital with children, that education from the 1960s has been seen not as a cost, but as an investment in the next generation. In the 1970s, an African-American lawyer, James Lowry in America, used the term social capital. Social capital described really what are our assets together. What do we have together? So a child from a poor family who had strong networks and advocates would do better than a child from an equally poor family with weak advocates and networks. This is the idea of social capital. The environmentalists use the idea of natural capital, how we look after sustainably the resources of the earth. I don't know how this translates, but in English there's even a book now called Erotic Capital. I think you understand English very well, actually. I also give speeches on this, and they have much bigger audiences than this one. So capital is a kind of metaphor. And in education, Michael Fullan, my co-author, and I believe at the moment there's a battle, a war, between a vision of the future based on two different kinds of capital in teaching. The first is business capital. And by the way, Alessandra redid all the pictures, and I think they're fantastic, fantastic pictures. The first is business capital. Business capital globally, especially, but not only in the Anglo-Saxon nations now, but also in places like Sweden and other countries too. The vision of public education at the moment is that its prime purpose, its first purpose, is to be a market for short-term profits for those who invest in it. Much of this you will not see yet in Italy, but I guarantee that it will come. It is seen as a market for technology products, for computers, for software. Tens of billions of dollars, some people estimate. It is seen as a market for textbooks, for testing products all over the world. It is seen as a market increasingly for private schools or for running public schools as if they were private schools. In America, in England, in Sweden, these things are now very, very, very far advanced. And I'm not opposed, by the way, I should clarify too, the existence of a private sector. I work in a Catholic university, which is a private university. There is a place for private alternatives. But when the main purpose of public education is to yield profits for private interests, then we see a major difficulty. Because this also means that if you want to make profit of public education, what is the greatest saving that you can make? And the answer is teachers' salaries. Teachers' salaries are the biggest cost of public education. So if you can somehow keep teachers' salaries low, you increase the return, short term, that you make in public education reform. And there are many ways in which this occurs. In the business capital view, in the Anglo-Saxon countries, what this is leading to is the following. So beware. At the moment, perhaps the problem in Italy is many older teachers on low wages. But beware of the alternative, because the alternative is this. The alternative is, in the business capital view, that teaching is not hard, but teaching is easy. It is perhaps difficult to control a class, but teaching is technically easy. There's not too much to learn in the knowledge of what you teach, in the knowledge of how children's brains work, in the knowledge of pedagogy. It's seen as easy, not hard. If it's seen as easy, it's seen as something you can learn quickly rather than something that takes a long time. It's something that poorly qualified people can do rather than something that well-qualified people can do. And although your problem at the moment may be too many teachers who are too old and in the way of younger alternatives, beware what has happened in America, where the modal number, this is the most commonly occurring number of years in teaching of teachers in America now, is 1. There are more teachers with 1 year of experience than any other year, because the conditions of teaching in America and the incentives given to teachers surround the idea that teaching is something that people will come and do for 2 or 3 years and then leave to go and do something else afterwards. The training is short, the enthusiasm is great, the time is brief, the cost is low. So as you battle with your problem of low wages of older teachers, beware of the alternatives that will come your way. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because this will be the next battle that you must fight. And part of that at the very bottom with technology is the view that technology does not enhance teaching, but technology can replace teaching. In states in America now, it is a requirement that students in secondary school must do 1 course online. If you have to do a course online, you're spending less time with your teacher. You have less need for teachers, even though there is no evidence that studying online is more effective than studying face-to-face with a teacher. This is not an argument against technology. In Canada, in Singapore, in this book, The Global Fourth Way, I've seen outstanding examples of teachers working with technology to enhance teachers and technology together, making deeper, more effective pedagogy. So this is not an argument against technology, but it is an argument against replacing teachers with technology.